K Classic, K Classic, K Classic.
Corner music.
Hold up. Listen, the song's crazy. You know, I got an idea though. Make it a little crazy.
You can't stop this here, you can't top this tier. Work too hard, my God, I'ma play my card. I'ma leave your atmosphere, it's so toxic. And I hear your gossip, I'm aware they plotting, but I got no option. And I can't be stopped, I'ma keep on walking. And my power, and my purpose, and that backbiting so worthless. And my faith on, and it's working. I'm one of one, and I'm certain that I won the battle. It's over, we did it. I'm Silk, I'm C, I'm P, no limit. Can't stop it, it's me and Corin in the pocket. Got the plug in the socket.
They told you that you couldn't do it cause you washed up. Ain't like them bad girls said you should get your sauce up. But I got this plan.
Thank you for tuning in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. The sponsor for today's show is Our Voices LLC, a writing and editing consulting firm and entertainment studio ready to help you tell your story your way. For more information, go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Our Voices LLC. Today's show is Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2. If you were with me last week, we discussed how language shapes the characters and ultimately the story itself. We discussed how dialogue adds a new layer to each scene and character, and how the conversations do not repeat what the scene shows. Remember, we're talking about showing and not telling. Today, we're going to discuss the 3 levels of dialogue: what's said, what's meant, and what's left out. One of the things that I truly have studied and pay attention to is what the dialogue is doing or not doing. I always look for the 3 levels of dialogue because that's what brings out the richness in your scenes. That's what tells the girls from the women and the boys from the men. If you can do those 3 levels of dialogue and do it in a way that's masterfully done, then you have truly accomplished something sweet for your pieces, whether it's a dramatic piece, meaning a dramatic written piece, or whether it is for literature. Either way, that dialogue has got to move. So, what does it mean to say the first level dialogue, meaning what's said? It's just that, dialogue on its face. What is the dialogue communicating? Does it reveal character? Actions and words. Is the character clumsy, talk too much, lying about their life, secretly wish they could melt into the floor, into sheer embarrassment? Can't keep a secret, straight up rude, calling it truth? It reveals exposition. I know many writers think the E word is just foul, but it's not. You need exposition. It's just the way that you lace it in there. Exposition is information that the audience or character needs to understand in the moment. Backstory information that must be shared without being clunky. Does the dialogue reveal relationship? Do the characters trust each other, hate each other, love each other? Do they even know each other? Do they accept each other? Are they secretly attracted to one another? Does the dialogue reveal desire or goal? What does the character want? Romantic relationship, a home, education, justice, freedom? Does the dialogue reveal desperation and thus flaws? What is the character willing to do to get it? Will they lie? Will they cheat? Will they steal? Etc. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. You're tuned in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We'll be right back after the break.
I know that it seems sometimes that no matter what you do, or no matter how hard you work, striving to make things better in your life, but for some reason you're not getting nowhere. Well, I want you to turn to the one next to you and tell him,
you tried your way, it didn't work, no. You put him second,
yeah.
And put you first.
Oh, yeah.
You trusted friends, thought they had your back. And every time you turn around, it seems you're under attack. Yeah. But Turn to your neighbor and say, see, the devil is a liar. No, I'm not gonna die. It's okay to cry, cause he's by your side. You gotta stop that hating. I know you don't wanna hear it. Gotta fast and pray and listen to the Spirit, cause he's speaking to your heart right now. Just listen to the Spirit. Oh, hold up. You lost your job.
Hallelujah.
Your bills are due. And all the people you helped did not want to help you. I talked to my mother. She said, pray about it. I talked to my pastor. He said, pray about it. But I was so blinded by all my disaster. I wish you would just tell your neighbor, tell him for me. See, the devil is a liar. No, you're not gonna die. It's okay to cry, cause he's by your side. You gotta stop that hating. I know you don't wanna hear it. Gotta fast and pray and listen to the Spirit, y'all. He's speaking to your heart right now. Just listen to the Spirit, oh. Hold up. Listen. Hey, yeah, oh. I did everything I could to take away my trouble, but everything I tried did not stop my struggle. Just doing me every day. Guess I was in my own way, but I'm here to tell you, without His grace I'm a major failure. So if you got problems, know that you can't fix it. Just give it to Jesus. Oh, can I get a witness and tell him, say, that the devil is a liar. You gotta listen to the Spirit. Whoa, God is. Yes, He is. He's trying to get your attention right now. I know you got your own plan, but God's got a better one. Oh.
Welcome back to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2. And on Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. In the last segment, we began our discussion on the 3 levels of dialogue. The first level is what's said. This level of conversation is easy. Pass the bread. Is so-and-so up? Did you do your homework last night? It's the simple stuff. You answer questions. You give directions. You offer simple commentary on the moment. You reveal character, exposition, relationship, and flaws. Now we move on to the subtext of the line. Subtext, what's meant. We're talking about the dialogue underneath what's been said. You have to ask yourself, what do they really mean? Does the dialogue reveal emotional truth? Say you have a character that comes in, they went to a party the night before, so they're really sleepy, and maybe they did something they didn't realize they did. Or perhaps they come in and they're disheveled, and maybe something happened, and they're not saying what happened. So the person says, do you want some coffee? Yeah, coffee's cool. But are they really talking about the coffee? Is that really was that really the question? The other character looked at them, gave a side glance, tilted their head and said, do you want some coffee? The answer, yeah, coffee's cool. Somebody's hiding something. Somebody's not talking. Does it reveal mental astuteness or stupidity? You know that dialogue where someone says something that just doesn't make sense and they just don't get it. The dialogue just flew over their head, down the street and around the corner. Revealing the mental astuteness or the stupidity of the character. It could reveal story theme. What's really going on in the story? What is something that the writer is trying to hit, is trying to keep pushing on? That's revealed in dialogue. That can be the subtext of the dialogue going on. Next is, this is what the actor uses to make the scene more dynamic. In one of my earlier shows, we talked about a piece of dialogue where when Harry met Sally, Sally is having her orgasmic moment at the table in the restaurant just to prove to Harry that she can actually do that and fake it. Well, as she's having her moment, little does she realize that there's another character sitting in back of her, actually witnessing everything she's doing. So after the Sally character finishes, and Harry realizes, wow, so women actually fake that, the woman in back of her at the table says, she talks to the waiter, I'll have what she's having. Now, what's the subtext of it? Perhaps girlfriend hasn't enjoyed herself in quite some time and figured, that lunch may actually help me. But that's subtext. It's the idea that whatever this woman is having and she's enjoying herself, I really want the same thing. Please, it's been a minute. But she doesn't say it like that. She just says, I'll have what she's having. Subtext of the line. This is what the storyteller uses to broaden the power of the scene's moment. It could be a particular thing that's happening in the scene, and a character just adds another level of importance or absurdity or humor or commentary on the moment just to make it that much more alive, just to make it that much more poignant, that much more needed and necessary. And then you have the next level revealed in the scene. What's really happening? How do you heighten that scene to make it go forward? The last level of dialogue deals with the hidden. What do characters reveal about themselves and what they don't say? Good dialogue doesn't say everything. You leave some things out to allow the audience to read into it, to understand it, to hear the more volume of the line. Dialogue that's missing, what's left unsaid. In regular conversation, very few people say what they mean. And even more, people leave out what they really want to say for whatever reason. We speak in fragments and half thoughts on the fly. Our characters are no different, except writers have time to construct those moments and make them humorous, make them sarcastic, make them angry, make them enraged, make them more poignant for that. We always find characters who say the things that we wish we could have said in those particular moments ourselves, but we didn't have the words. But as a writer, we get to construct those moments and make it work. Writers have the time to create the lines we regular people wish we had the guts to say. For instance, you're sitting with your boss and your boss has berated you for the umpteenth time. Yet you're young, you want the job, but you don't know how to give a comeback without losing your job. A character, however, can be sitting there in that same situation and they come off with a cracky or witty comment and have the boss go, wow. And they get up and they leave and they don't come back. And they go off to whatever it is they're going to do and enjoy their lives. But it's that moment that we wish we could actually say it. We wish we could use witty banter, used for real life story pushes. So you have that fun banter that goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. We wish that we could say it, but we can write it and construct it to make it interesting. Then, as I said before in the last segment, there's always the silence. Silence can and does speak volumes. Every moment should not be filled with words. There's a moment in the movie Dreamgirls, the movie, not the play, where the Eddie Murphy character is sitting. He has just tried yet again to get a hit record. Some of the people who are with him, they helped him produce this record. They are playing it for the producer at hand. The music is beautiful, but it's what's called a race record in terms of the emotions that are happening out there. Eddie Murphy's character turns and looks at the producer, really hoping the producer's going to be happy to hear it. And the producer looks at him like, nah, man, it's a race record. It's so old, it's passé. We're not doing that right now. We're trying to push you into another direction. The Eddie Murphy character looks at the producer, looks at the other people, doesn't say a word, but it's the look on Eddie Murphy's face that makes that scene explode. Because with one look of his eyes, we understood that if he didn't make that record and if it didn't become a hit, he'd go back to being a drug user. And he said all of that with one look. That's what powerful silence can do. That's what a powerful actor can do. And in fact, Eddie Murphy became a much more powerful actor for me in that moment than I had seen him before. So that's just one example of what silence can do, where you don't have to overwrite. You don't have to add anything. Just let silence be your friend and allow it to be the dialogue you need. After the break, we'll wrap up our discussion on Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2. You're tuned in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Don't go anywhere because we'll be right back.
Told her that I knew somebody. Everybody needs someone, ain't that the truth? She told me all about her problems. I told her, honey, that's no problem. She didn't know the problem solver, now she does. Now that girl is free, free. Yes, she's free. The one back there I used to. She used to be. Say, free, free, yes. Hello to the one the sun is making me. Good day to all my brothers. It's time to love each other. Leave all the past behind and take the lead. Let love break these shackles. If you wanna win, let's tackle. Everything is possible if you just believe, but you gotta believe in your mind. Yeah, to the one, you know the one I used to be. Say free in my mind. To the one the sun is making me. With every mistake he guarantees, mercy and grace still follows me. Rid of the false identity, I know who I am. In him I live and I have my being. Said in his word I can do all things. If you're not ashamed, sing along with me. Raise your voice and scream. Yeah, I'm telling everyone I see, everyone that I am free. Hey, yeah. Oh, telling everyone I see, I'm free. To the one the sun is making me. Don't have to walk the way I used to walk. Don't have to talk the way I used to talk. If anybody asks what happened to me, just tell them I'm free. Free. Telling everyone I see. Bye-bye to the one back there while I am free.
Welcome back to WDR Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2 on Our Voices Radio. And I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. On the last segments, we've been talking about dialogue. In fact, this show and the show before, we've been talking about dialogue. Dialogue can either make or break a scene. The wrong conversation can deaden a scene before it truly takes off, just as the right conversation makes an indelible impression on the viewer or reader's mind. Every piece of dialogue must have purpose. I'm going to say that again. Every piece of dialogue must have purpose. Don't put in words just to be fillers. Don't put in words just to take up space. Allow your dialogue to add the layer of continuity, of spice, of information, of humor, of character that you need. When writing, decide what you want your words to do. Just as you've decided what story you were going to tell, what it was going to become, when you wanted it done, figure out what you want your dialogue to do. Are you trying to show emotion? Are you pushing story? Are you allowing your readers, your viewers, your listeners to understand the character arc? Are you showing relationship or lack thereof? Are you letting the audience in on a secret? Are you keeping the audience at bay for the big reveal? Dialogue should add another layer to the tone of the scene. If the dialogue is repeating what's already been shown, cut it. If the dialogue is not making strong use of what's necessary, beef it up. If you find that what's being said is what you would say, change it. Because we don't want what we hear all the time. We want something that we only hear in our minds. You know, the conversation that you usually have in your bathroom after you've had that confrontation with your boss and you lost. After you had that fight with your partner and it didn't come out the way you hoped. We always reshape the dialogue in our minds, in our bedrooms, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, or just when you're by yourself. That's the dialogue that needs to be on the page, because those are the words that we wish we could say and we don't, because we don't have the fortitude, the backbone, the courage, the whatever. Or we just think it's too mean. We think it's too rude. We think it's too wrong, too raw, whatever. But that's really what we want to hear on the page. We want to see ourselves being revealed. We want to hear ourselves saying what we truly feel for the first time in our lives. That's what we need to be seeing. I have seen many a chase scene where the conversation in the car had nothing to do with outrunning the bad guys, but everything to do with how they feel for the other. Dialogue must push, reveal, let go of, allow characters to delve into one another. You may only have that first or that needed private conversation in the car between leaving the house and going to work. That's where good conversations are had. Why? Because you're stuck together. Have those conversations or create those scenes, the importance when the stakes are high, when the emotions are running, when you finally are trapped with that character and you have no choice but to say how you feel, to say the things that you wish you could have said a long time ago. In the action scene that I was discussing, the action in a scene may be one thing, but the dialogue will speak volumes about the heart of the matter between the characters. That's the true purpose of dialogue. It's not just to spill information, but it's to add layer upon layer upon layer about relationship that we need to understand about the two people or the three people or the four people we're on a journey with in the film, in the book, in the play, whatever it is that we're experiencing. I hope that helps. I hope the last couple of shows just on dialogue alone allows writers to unlock themselves and free their mind and kick the editor out the door. But just have fun with words and figure out what words are going to nail each character you've created. Make them distinctive. Make them eccentric. Make them memorable, most of all. All right. Today I'm doing something a little different. Here are a few of my favorite writing exercises to pump out good dialogue. Writing exercise number 1 that I use, interview your characters. It may sound odd, but trust me, it works. That means literally sit down and ask your character questions. And please don't censor what they say or how they say it. That's how you find their language. That's how you find how they truly speak. That's how you'll find how they'll interact with other people. Interview them. I've got notebooks of where I've interviewed my characters, where I've interviewed how they felt about the other characters in the piece. And I've used some of those interviews and some of that language and some of the snippets of conversation in the dialogue itself and reshaped it, repurposed it, but used it because some of it was pretty good. Now, a lot of it was awful. I'll be the first to admit that. But it's not about trying to get it perfect. Just get it out. The next one, record conversations. Here's what I mean by that. I know that we're in the midst of the situation that we're dealing with. However, if you're in the grocery store and you hear a good conversation, pull out your phone, record it. Because people's rhythms are different. It could be different because they're different cultures, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different emotions at stake. But hear other people's rhythms, people who are not you. because your characters can't all speak like you, so you need to hear from other people. Next, become a connoisseur of people watching. That's right. When you're out and about, on the street, in your business, going to work, dropping the children off for school, whatever it is that you're doing, hanging out with family, watch them. Watch how they speak to each other, not just the body language, but what words do they use and with whom and when. Always figure that out. And then the last one, write down the things you dare never tell another human being. I know some things may feel a little rude. Write it down. Some things may be a little harsh. Write it down. Some things may be dripping with romance. Write it down. Whatever the things that you're afraid to say, write those things down. They can always end up in the voice of your characters and make them interesting and not so much the flat, normal ones that we see or just people that you keep writing over and over and over again. Why do I say that? Because we do it sometimes. We recycle characters when we're not thinking about it, when we don't realize it. You'll look over your work and realize, I wrote that same character in the other 2 pieces I wrote. Okay, I need a new character. I need to shake myself up. But if you write down the things that you dare never tell another soul, you might find some new stuff, some new dialogue, some new way to spice up your own stuff, spice up your own work, and enjoy that. Join us next week as we continue our discussion with writing trends. Yeah, there's some nice writing trends out there, and I want to be able to expose them and introduce them to you if you're not already there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Continue to tune in every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Please remember to connect with me by going to WDRBmedia.com. Click on the radio shows tab and go to Our Voices radio page. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show and want free advertising, reach me on my website at NicholeMPalmer.com. That's NicholeMPalmer.com. Or go to my Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Our Voices LLC. You can also leave me questions, and I'll answer them on the page. As well, I will also be posting some of the movies that I've recommended, some of the books that I've recommended, in case that I've done it too fast and you wanted to write it down and you weren't in a place to do so. But you'll find them on the Facebook page. You've been listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole the Creative Midwife, on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, for double the information and inspiration. Until next week, thanks and peace, and remember, in the end, you must write the vision.
And my power and my purpose and that backbiting so worthless, and my faith on and it's working. I one of one and I'm certain that I won the battle. It's over, we did it. I'm Silk, I'm C, I'm P, no limit, can't stop it. It's me and Corin in the pocket. Got the plug in the socket.
They told you that you couldn't do it cause you're washed up. Ain't like them bad girls said you should get your sauce up. But I got this plan and you might not understand. I'ma go hard as I can, and I'm gonna be the boss of it. Just watch me do this, put no limits, only swag on it. Walk right up to the front where I belong and brag on it. Go to the top, I'ma give it all I got. Might take a lot, but we ain't gonna ever stop. I do believe I'm something special, can't take that from me. So you can say what you want, I go harder, stronger, be who I'm supposed to be. Cause I'm unstoppable, I get all the way in it. That's the way I was made, and I'm up on my business. Cause I'm unstoppable, ain't no hoping and wishing. Say a prayer, catch a wave, then I go out and get it. Cause I can be what I want, try it if I want. Empowered by the king, and he won't let me fall. Cause I'm unstoppable, nah, he won't let me fall. No, cause I'm unstoppable. I dream about it, I go get it, that's how I do it. Not in the stars, I'm not lucky, I just pray through it. Fall on my face and I might make mistakes, but I don't let it break me. Cause